Okay, so a few other basics that we're going to go over. I hope everybody's up to par on all this. We did the cutting, we did the lighting. Few other questions people ask. Number one is holding. People seem to be worried about how they look with a cigar, if they're holding it funny or the right way. The truth is, you know, books will tell you the right way to hold a cigar is pretty much like so. Resting on your middle finger, grasped between your thumb and forefinger. That's holding a cigar. Or using 2 fingers and your thumb to hold the cigar. There's really no right way. The right way is however it is comfortable for you. Don't let what other people think around you deter you from smoking a cigar comfortably. That's what cigars are all about. You're supposed to relax, enjoy it, let the troubles of the day go, you know, and so don't be so worried about how you appear to other people. I saw one video, I found it hilarious. First of all, the guy burned himself while lighting his cigar. He didn't shot. I'm surprised he uploaded it. I guess he thought people wouldn't know. He was holding the torch. I knew it was way too close to his face, and he blasted it. And then for the rest of the video, he was kind of going, yeah, and so, you know, when you light a cigar, you know, dude fucking burned half his mustache off, and he just keeps recording. And then he basically told everybody the right way to hold a cigar. Rest it on your middle finger and wrap your index finger around it. Yeah, that's the right way because it makes you look like a really, you know, macho fucking tough guy right there, you know? Mwah, mwah, mwah. Yeah. Ain't no right way to hold a fucking cigar. If you want to hold your cigar like that, by all means hold your cigar like that. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm sitting there. Usually I play with it as you know, smoking. I look at it. I look at the way it's burning. I look at the wrapper. You know, I'll be holding it this way and smoking it. And a lot of times I'll just put it in my mouth and just, you know, hold it there for a while, chew on it a little. You know, this thing went out and that's good, and I'll tell you why. Beside the fact that it's terrible. So that's that. When it comes to holding your cigar, there really is no right way. The only way I would not hold a cigar is like this, because people will start to talk about you. You can even hold it like a cigarette if it's comfortable with you, you know, especially when it starts burning down far. Whatever's comfortable, that's that. When a cigar goes out, if your cigar should go out while you're smoking, you know, or if you want it to go out, you know, that's another thing. Cigars will go out after about 5 or a little more minutes of not puffing on it. That's just the way they are. So if you want, let's say you're done with half your cigar and you got to go in somewhere and you want to come, you know, back to the cigar later, you can just let it go out, okay, and you leave it for 5 minutes and take it with you and then relight it. Rule number 1 is don't stomp out your cigar. That's a no-no. First of all, it'll get damaged and you probably won't be able to relight it. And then even if you're done with it, it's bad etiquette to stomp your cigar out, because what it does is, believe it or not, it releases an awful amount of odor into the air. For some reason, you know, whatever, the tars, everything mixing together gets trapped in there. When you stomp that thing out, it really does make a blast of, like, you know, just sour air. And everybody else in the room is going to have to smell that. So you always want to, whether you're extinguishing or letting it go out for smoking it later, let it sit for 5 minutes and that's that. If you're planning on relighting the cigar, most people say relight it within an hour, because after that all the resins start to harden and everything. That is true. However, it doesn't mean the cigar is completely bad if it's been longer than an hour. I've left cigars outside, half a cigar, and if it didn't rain or anything, came back to it a day later. You know, of course, this was not a cigar that I'm, like, you know, concerned with every note and flavor, but, you know, if it's just a regular cigar, big deal. You let it go out, you come back to it later, you know, another thing. When a cigar goes out and you want to relight, simply you don't stomp out, get any ash that's on the end of that, you want to get rid of it. So you can just kind of roll the edge of it around in the ashtray, all right, and you'll see the ash just comes right off, all right. You can give it a little tap. You don't want to, when you're smoking a cigar and the ash is getting longer, you don't want to flick like a cigarette. You don't want to use your thumb and flick. You don't want to go like that, because the ash can come up and get on other people, which is, again, bad etiquette. You don't want to ash on other people. So you just break the ash off or roll it around a little bit, and you end up with something like that. And then to relight, you do the same thing as you did before. Because it's been lit already and carbonized, it'll light a lot easier than the first time. You really don't even need to start doing this whole thing again. You could do it a little bit, you know, just a little bit, and then put it. And that's it. Okay? So when people ask me, that's all of that. When people ask me about smoking the cigar, the actual practice of smoking the cigar, one guy said something very weird, like, at which point do you draw the cigar into your mouth? Between a breath or during a breath? What are you talking about? I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't take in a breath like, and then go, you know, just relax with it. Take it in when it feels most natural. And you're not pulling on this thing like you do with certain, still illegal but not illegal in all states, materials. You know, you don't go, you don't want to do that. You really don't want to inhale a cigar. Some people inhale a little bit of cigar smoke. It's okay. You're not going to die. Somebody said, another question was, I inhaled some cigar smoke. Is that bad? Is anything going to happen to me? No, nothing's going to happen to you. Depending on what type of cigar you're smoking, if it's a heavy-duty Nicaraguan and you breathe that in, good luck. You're not going to like it. This happened to me once. A customer came in and asked me a question, and it was in mid-draw, and I just forgot what, and I went, and I was like, and I was trying to talk to them, and they were like, hey, can you give me a pack of Marlboro, and how much is that? And I'm like, it's $2.35. So do not breathe in cigar smoke like that. You puff. See how I'm puffing? That's what you do. You puff. And then that's it. You can let the smoke come out of your mouth. You can blow the smoke out of your mouth. Another thing I like to do is blow the smoke through your nose. That's a little, not really tricky, but it takes a little learning compared to, it's not like a cigarette. When you blow a cigarette through your nose, you're breathing it into your lungs. Therefore, it'll come out of anywhere you blow out. So when you blow out your nose, it'll come out your nose. For a cigar, you gotta kind of, it's hard for me to say, you gotta kind of open your nasal passage. And I wouldn't recommend doing it with any cigars but Cubans, really. You know, I'll do it with this just to show you. Huh? See it? Oh my God. Wow, that burns. Another way to tell if you got a Cuban cigar or not. Every Cuban cigar I've ever smoked in my life, that is still burning. Horribly. Horribly. And what that is a sign is way high alkaline levels in the cigar. Alkalized. Really, really burns. Cuban cigars do not burn when you blow them through your nose. If they do, very, very slightly, hardly at all, and those will be the young ones. I had that, if everybody's been watching before, that box of D4s, blow them through my nose constantly. Beautiful, small, floral aromas and no burning whatsoever. All right? So I wouldn't blow Nicaraguan cigars. This thing, I think this is Nicaraguan tobacco or some other kind of, you know, I love Nicaraguan tobacco, but not if they told me it's a Cuban cigar. You know, blowing it through your nose is going to hurt. It's going to hurt unless it's a real Cuban cigar, and then it should be really smooth. I'd like to hear some comments on that. Do other people agree with me? If they take their Cuban cigars and they're smoking them and blow them through their nose, how do you feel about that? Does it burn a lot or not at all? I wonder, because I think a lot of people are going to answer, no, it really doesn't burn. Or they'll say, it burns a little bit, but this ain't a little bit. Yeah, so here I got a little notepad with me. and we're going to look at, I just want to go over and make sure I covered all the questions that people were asking me online. Cutting a cigar, straight V. Lighting a cigar, what do you use? Flame torch, matches, so I showed you all of that. Smoking a cigar, holding, ashing, relight, drawing, putting out, and disposal. I think I covered just about all of that. Let's move on, because etiquette will cover any other questions as far as what you're doing with your cigar. Here's a few things, okay? When you're smoking in public places, there's a few things, a few no-nos that will upset certain individuals around you, okay? And I'll go over them. Number one, in the store, while choosing your cigar, when you're in the humidor, choosing your cigar. Number one, don't sniff them while they're in the cellophane. You don't smell anything through cellophane. You can't. That's one problem with cigars in American humidors. Cuban cigars are not in cellophane. They don't come in cellophane. And that's a nice thing, because you can always, that's why Cuban humidors always smell so much better. Half the cigars these days, if not more, in American humidors are covered in cellophane. And you just can't smell a cigar through cellophane. So going like that while the cigar's in cello is, people are going to think you're an idiot. That's one. If you want to really smell a cigar that is in cellophane, ask the salesperson if you mind. Do you mind if I just kind of take this out and smell it a little? If they're cool, which I always was, I would never mind. I would never tell a customer no. I would never say, no, you can't do that. You have to buy it first. That's not what cigars are about. But don't just start opening cigars, without asking, and then sometimes it's hard to get it back in the cellophane. And it's best, if you're not sure you're going to buy it, take it halfway out, smell the cigar, put it back. Don't take it past the ring, because then you bend the ring when you're putting it back in. That's etiquette on shoot. So, as far as cellophane is concerned. Choosing a cigar. Squeezing. Testing for humidity. Don't start squeezing the cigars. When you go in a humidor, you pick up a cigar, all right, you're looking at it, you feel the wrapper. If you do smell it, don't touch it to your nose, okay? Don't stick the foot. People do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. What are you, fucking idiot? Don't do that. You're getting snot. You're getting your fucking personal nose shit on the foot of the cigar, and I doubt there's anybody out there, unless you're that clown guy who commented on one of my videos recently. Some guy said that the way I smell Cuban cigars is the same way he feels when he smells sweaty women's feet. I love some of these comments that come. We're in a crazy world these days, my friend. But, maybe he wants a cigar with your fucking snot on it, but I don't. So don't stick it in your nose. That's a big one. Squeezing, you can test for humidity, and if you walk in a humidor, all right, a professional cigar shop, all the cigars in that humidor are, whether they're on the top shelf, bottom shelf, they're all in the same climate. The only cigars that may be a little different are ones right next to the humidifiers, which may accumulate a little more humidity, or ones in the area where the doors open and close, which may accumulate a little less. But none of them are going to be dried out to the point of not being, unless they're not using their humidor properly. If the temperature gets too low, too high, it's not humid enough. In any humidor that's worth being called a humidor, the cigars should all be fine. Anyway, so once you trust a certain shop, you don't really have to check anymore. You just pick the cigar you want and go. But when you do, if you have to, do not squeeze the head of the cigar. It's where the cap is, it's where the curvature is, it's very sensitive. If you squeeze it even a little too hard, you'll hear a pop, and what that is you're cracking the binder, and the person who ends up buying that cigar, because of course once you hear a crack, you're going to put it down, then some guy pays 10, 15 bucks for that cigar, and he can't get a draw on it. So don't do that. You could squeeze the foot a little bit around the edge, and look very, very gently. Don't go like, wow, that's got some filler in it. It's like a fucking baseball bat. But very gently, very gently. And honestly, you really don't have to do that, Don't squeeze in the middle. Don't squeeze at the head. You squeeze the foot a little bit. If the foot gives, doesn't, you don't hear a lot of cracking, popping. If it just gives slightly, then it's fine. All right? So that's that. Rummaging. Nobody wants the cigars on the top for some reason, or everybody has to see every cigar in the box to get the best one. You have a right as a customer to choose the cigar that looks perfect for you. But if you have a box of, say, La Gloria cigars, cabinet box, and they go straight down, don't jam your hand in there and start pulling out cigars from the bottom. Cigars are falling on the floor. Cigars that your hand is next to are getting crushed. Your dirty hand is in all the cigars. All right? Take the cigars off the top gently, one at a time. Put them in and go in for one at the bottom. If you really need to see more about that same cigar, ask somebody at the shop for a tray. Every good humidor should have a tray where you can lay out a bunch of cigars and then choose the one you want. So rummaging is a no-no. Don't go rummaging through boxes like that. All right? Let's see. What does somebody else ask me? Yeah, somebody yelled at me for going through the cigars. Is that well, and that's the answer I gave him. You can go through the cigars. That's your right, but don't rummage. If you're going to buy a lot of cigars, ask for a tray. If you're going in there and picking out 10, 15 cigars or more, don't attempt to, take one, put it in your hand, take another, put it in, take it. Eventually, you won't be able to hold them all. Some of them will slip, fall, hit the ground. And of course, being a human being, you'll probably put them back and take ones that didn't hit the ground. All right? Most people do. Only the people that knew I was watching didn't. And then even sometimes then, they would sneak back around and put them back. Think about the other guy. That's what it's about. Have some common decency and concern for the other guy. All right? When cutting, if you're using the house cutter, two things. Do not cut the cigar while it's still in cellophane. Okay? It's just annoying. It dulls the blade of the cutter. It leaves bits of cellophane in the ashtray that end up burning and smelling like plastic. Don't cut when the cellophane. If it's your personal cutter, you do whatever the hell you want with it. But don't use the house cutter and cut while the cigar is in the cellophane. You really should always remove the cigar from the cellophane when you're going to cut it anyway, because you're about to smoke it. Number two, if you bought the cigars already and now you have them in your mouth, don't go over to the house cutter and use it. You're getting your spit on the cutter. Other people don't want your spit on their cigar. Makes sense, right? Okay? So that's that. Yeah, don't put it in mouth and cut. And that's about it. Other etiquette things include ashing. Don't flick. Just try to put the ash out gently. Don't stomp your cigar out. We already said all that. If you get ash on the seat or the floor, it happens. Your cigar is burning and the ash falls on the floor. Don't look around and take your foot and put it and try to get it under your chair. What are you doing? Just leave it there. The people who work there will clean it up. Don't make their lives more difficult. Or be really nice and say, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got an ash on the floor. They should have no problem. If they have a problem and they yell at you, they should be fired. They should be, no problem, we'll get it. That's it. But don't try to be a pig and cover it up with your foot and smear it into the floor. You know how hard it is to get smushed ash out of a waxed wooden floor? It really gets into the wax, because it's hot sometimes. And that's it. One of the most common questions about etiquette is still the whole band thing. Should I leave my band on? Should I take my band off? This is from long ago when you didn't want to show off that you had money and other people didn't. You took the band off the cigar to be proper. To tell you the truth, these days, nobody cares. You really don't have to do that. As long as people can tell that you're not doing it just to show off. In fact, keeping the band on the cigar is a good way to invite conversation, if you want conversation, in a cigar lounge. If you keep your band on your cigar, the guy next to you can go, hey, I meant to try that. How is that cigar? And it's good. It starts up some talk. If people can't tell you what you're smoking, the only question they can ask you is, what do you smoke? Keeping the band on or taking it off because you don't want to be a show-off, that's really up to you. Personally, the best method is leave the band on when you're lighting the cigar and wait a little while, because what happens is this. When a band is on the cigar and the cigar is fresh, not all the time, but a lot of times, it will be really hard to get the band off. It might be glued on there in such a way. You never want to slide the band down. You can really damage the wrapper. You want to take it off, at where it's glued together. If you can't get that off and it starts ripping, you don't want to pick at it, because you can end up picking a piece of the wrapper or putting a hole in the cigar or whatnot. So the best thing to do is light the cigar, like this one for instance has a band. Light the cigar, keep smoking it, and the heat will eventually loosen the glue on the band. At which point you can very easily, go over to the band and just kind of lift it up and pick it off. So that's that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope anybody watching learned a little something, or at least what they were looking to learn. I have 1 minute left, so I'm just going to say goodbye. And of course, above all, the number one rule, beyond all the etiquette and all the tools and everything you have to know, is enjoy yourself. Relax and enjoy yourself. Finding the cigar you want should never be a quest that's done tomorrow. It's like looking for Excalibur. You're always going to be looking for the next better and next better cigar. And that's what makes it so much fun. That and getting involved with other people who smoke cigars. That's a big part of it, for me anyway, and that's why I do this. That's one of the big reasons I do this, is it really lets me get involved with the other cigar smokers out there. So, with no further things to say, please get ready for the next episode, which is going to be some very important updates on Cuban counterfeiting before we get into the rest of our cigars. And don't miss the H. Upman review, the cigar to be compared to the vintage one we just smoked in the last episode. Dr. Joe, out. Keep on smoking.